this video we're going to show you how we built this, the Nukeproof 297 Mega Carbon Mullet from scratch, working from a 2020 Nukeproof Mega 275 frame, swapping what components we could over to it. If you do see some stupid questions along the way, that's because they are stupid questions. It's my first build, so I've got my friend helping me, and you'll see me go through the whole process of building it. Following that, we're going to move on to the ride test and a review and summary at the end of how it felt to ride. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Nukeproof Mega 297 Carbon build, where I'm going from this old 2020 Mega comp frame to the brand new Nukeproof Mega 297 Carbon frame, the Mullet. There she is, the Carbon Beast, complete in Kraken blue, also with the Foxflow X2 shock included. Time to get building. However, the first thing to mention is I've never done this before, but luckily I've enlisted the help of some friends, including a guy I like to call Mr. Spreadsheet, aka Andy, who's already put a spreadsheet together of everything we need in order to get started, including some additional tools which I don't have. So let's unleash the Kraken. Here's all my bits and bobs I've stripped off the current Mega frame, ready to slap on the new one. Just pre-assembling a few bits myself tonight, ready for the main build. So I've got my new Sam Hill Oil Slick pedals, got the alloy jockey wheels from Uber Bike, made in England. Over here, I've got 29-inch wheel for the first time. Gone for the Asegai tyres, which are going to be running better come March. It is winter at the moment, but as soon as spring starts to come around, these will be running a lot faster. And then I've got the minions on the rear. The first step is we've got the saddle on so we can clamp it up, but we haven't put grease in there because apparently on carbon we don't use grease, do we, Andy?
No. If it does slip, it's gripper paste.
Yes, so if I do find it slipping, a bit of gripper paste should do the trick. First job is threading the cables. So we've got one hole this side, two holes this side. There is some grommets in there apparently that run through to where it should do. So this is going to be a game of thread the needle and see what comes out where. Where's it going to come out? Nobody knows. Ooh, there she is. Rear mech is on. Just looking for the torque because we think it was there at some point, because off my old bike that has been well scrubbed off. So 11 Newton meters. Let's get this bad boy tightened up. So tonight, all we've managed to get done is we've got the wheel and the cassette on. And I'll tell you for why. Because it turns out my brake cable hose isn't long enough. My gear cable hose isn't long enough. Even though I stripped it off the Nukeproof Mega 275 2020, this is now all internally fed cabling, which takes up extra room, which didn't account for. So now I've got to get some brake fluid, I've got to get some brake cable, well, brake hose I mean, and I've got to get gear cable. I've also got to get a new gear cable to use for the dropper seat, because that isn't long enough. But on top of that, I need an extra spacing for the bomb bracket, so my current bomb bracket doesn't fit. So I've got a list of things I need now. Back to the bike shop. Back at two wheel because my shock has finally arrived after a delay from DHL, but these guys have been absolutely awesome in helping with that. So I've got the Fox 36 shock fitted, which has been upgraded to the 170mm travel, and thankfully these guys have saved me a job in actually chopping down the fork and fitting the stem. So they've done that here for me, very helpful. And that saves a job in the build, because it is one of those nightmare things to do. If you get it wrong, it's an expensive mistake. So massive thanks to the guys here, and let's go back to the garage now, finish the build.
So the SRAM tool sits on the top jockey, and as you bring it in, you're aiming to match the tip there to that line.
Yeah, and you can see the wavy lines
and
in the
you
gears,
can see the wavy lines
where they should sit in.
Yeah, and they should match there, and that'll give you a really good starting point.
Cool. See, that's something I didn't even think of. I just took the old one off and slapped the new one on.
You see the cable end?
Yeah, so line that up there. We're changing the gear.
Push that out.
Push the cable out.
And then you've got to use a little screwdriver to pull that end up.
And insert the new one. Threading the needle. See, I was just about to snip that as it come out of there. But Andy said this is the bit people miss.
Goes through that little run and a hole there.
Cool. And then we snip it.
Well,
Or clamp it into here.
clamp it into there and
Snip it.
and then snip it later, but
Stick some sexual end caps on.
it's not.
Hello James. Hello. We also have the guys from UK Boiler Fit here.
Sick.
Yes, fitting the new boiler, and we're getting in the way, but they know the priority is obviously getting the bike sorted over hot water, and they're also into biking. So if you do need a new boiler, quick advert, go to ukboilerfit.co.uk and check them out. Let's carry on. We're gonna
Little finger.
we're gonna have let Coop have a go at fitting a brake. Just
Without any help.
yeah, see if you can do it.
Stop is on the first go.
In my opinion, you don't want to brake like that. So, it's going to go on there. Like that. And then
There's plenty of room for my handlebars there at the end as well, I see.
this little nidgety wop like that.
Right, okay.
And then it's just going to sit nicely out there.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, you've got it. Bang on. Ish. What? Steady. So we have this on. Screw. Olive. Now that olive is very loose at the moment. When we screw that up, that is going to go tight into the brakes and then bleed them. New bottom bracket on. Greased up. Need 2 spacers this side. Else it is awfully tight. It's still very tight with them on, but should do the job. 54 Newton meters.
Screws out the box, don't you?
That's a lot. Oh,
Oh.
what's crunching there?
Why it's crunching?
But where? Because it ain't here. Don't crunch that way. Crunch is there. So we've realised we didn't need those spaces there, because when we tighten them up, you see that, and we could hear that crunching. The chain ring was crunching against the metal. So we needed this spacer to go in there to keep that.
Sits down.
Yeah, because that sits in slightly, which means that spacer is actually the same width as those 2 spacers combined. So we can have that right up now, get that one on, and we shouldn't have no crunching. We hope. And there we have it. And it spins. So winner winner, chicken dinner. Oh, bloody hell. Right now we are getting the chain on, and now Andy's going to go back to that measurement tool that we saw earlier and utilise it now to hopefully get the gearing right. But SRAM is notably very finicky as compared to Shimano.
It just brings it away.
So
That pulley there should line up with the edge of the bottom sprocket.
okay.
I mean, it won't drop.
And what are you turning to do that?
The limit screw that's on the back of the derailleur.
Right. So you kind of get that line up to set us off to begin with.
It just means it shouldn't drop into there. We know that the lowest gear is where it should be.
Cool. So we've pushed that in by hand.
To check the lower limit, so it doesn't make sure that this doesn't go past and the chain will go over the top.
Yeah. So it's essentially like indexing it for the first time.
But without a cable.
So now that bit's set, we've pulled that tight. Now Andy says, in theory, this should just go clickety 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 all the way home. Oh, it doesn't want to reach that top one.
It's on. Oh no.
No, there's no click to get to that point. It's like I've put force in it and it's going to drop off again.
Oh, is it? Maybe you've knocked that as you put it back on.
Okay, so maybe that wasn't clicked out.
Maybe it wasn't clicked all the way down
Alright, okay.
to the lowest.
So then we need to have that all clicked all the way to the lowest and try again. Resolve that issue. We loosen the cable and there we go. I've got some tension there to pull it more. Now it's in the bottom gear. Tension and tighten it back up. I sound like I know what I'm doing here, but it's only because Andy's told me what to do. Every day's a school day.
Send it.
Splendid. Yeah. Yoink. We've got the protractor back out. So how close are we off?
It ain't too far away actually, probably just a couple of turns.
So now we've got to adjust this B tension here to get that into the right place. It's starting to look like a bike. So all I've got left to do now is get the drop cable wired up and connected, get the back brakes bled, those connected, and then go around and torque all the bits and get Loctite on where needed. Check the torque settings. So let's bleed the brakes. Setting up the clicks for the front and rear shocks now, according to Fox recommendations. And then after a bit of a feel on the trail, see what clicks we need to do to get it dialed. We have a whole bike, thanks to Andy for all his advice here.
No problems.
And making sure that nothing falls off, because I did it myself. So everything's dialed in now, we've got the shocks dialed, everything's torqued up, ready for a test ride. Let's go out and shred it, shall we, and see how it feels. So out for the first test on the Mullet, on the trails. We're going to do a trail that I know probably with my eyes closed, which is the dog at Cannock Chase, because that'll be a good indicator of how it feels compared to my other one. Already just riding down there, going from a 275 to a Mullet, I thought it'd feel like penny farthing-ish, but you can already tell the geometry is 297, definitely, because it just doesn't feel any different on the straights. But we'll see how it is down the trail, and let's give it the first test, shall we? It's going to be a funny one today, because not only am I going to get used to the Mullet geometry for the first time, I haven't set my shocks up yet either. Well, I absolutely have set them up to the standard settings recommended for my weight and PSI, but I haven't dialed them into my own unique requirements yet. So this is in case of getting used to that. Yeah, gear sound. Better than they were before. Do want to do the boardwalk black, he says. No, I do not want to risk that dent until I've at least got the substitute one. And you stop giving a crap. I think I do need to push the handlebars forward a little bit, just twist them forward a bit, because I've centred up the logo in the middle there. But I feel like they are angled back a bit. Just need that little bit more reach. This is going to be a good test. The good old Stegosaurus. Sound?
How does that feel with the big wheel on it?
Yeah, nice. Just rolls over it. No danger. Feels a lot easier.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, because you not feeling those little sharp cut-ins or like you're going to get wedged.
Oh yeah, you don't feel that point.
Yeah. Slower corners, like, you know, this sharp one here,
Yeah.
feels a tad bit more like you're driving a buzz rather than a go-kart, but only a tad. Not as bad as I thought it would.
Yeah.
I thought I'm going to be lugging that big old wheel around the corners, like,
It's going to feel really different. Definitely light on the back. Definitely light on the back. Like, pumping off of that, I feel my back wheel rising more. I've just got to pump that bit lower, I think, and pump through the jump more potentially than I'm used to. I don't know if it's just carbon, but the back end feels like on this kind of thing. Oh yeah, I suppose that is the other aspect that I've gone to a carbon, so there's a whole plethora of things I'm getting used to. The first hill climb test, the infamous cardiac hill, which should theoretically be a bit easier with the big wheel on the front. But it could just be that I'm on fresh legs because I haven't rode a bike in a week because I've been building it. Definitely having to get used to not letting my new big front wheel hit trees as much. There's a bit less room to play with. And the other thing I have noticed is I've had a couple of pedal strikes, which I'm not normally used to. However, the bottom bracket is lower on this, and I do have the 5mm extra long on the crank as opposed to the normal crank arms. So, because I swapped them over from the other bike, whether that extra 5mm now plus the extra bit lower is making a difference, I don't know. See, in my mind, I thought turning with the bigger wheel was going to be more difficult. But actually on the berms, because you're doing more of a push on the handlebars than a turn, it feels like I've got that extra bit of height to create an angle. Does that make sense? So it does feel really nice on the berms.
The summary. So the build, absolutely awesome. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and what a sense of accomplishment knowing that I've completely built a bike that I am now riding. So I'd recommend a build to anybody. Learning along the way was brilliant because I've learned so many things now that I can use in the future if anything goes wrong. But little tips and tricks now that I can actually implement in the future. So absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the build. The ride out test was awesome as well. It was like, you know, the only way I can describe it as a summary is, you know, when you go to see a film, but if you go with low expectations and you're not sure what it's going to be like, then it turns out to be a good film. But then if you went with high expectations, it probably would have been a bad film. Does that make sense? Well, kind of like that, because I went thinking, oh, this is going to be completely different. I'm going to have to get used to it. It's going to feel really odd, but not at all in the slightest. As you probably saw from that ride out, just if you have stuck this far, that it didn't, on the straight, it didn't feel any different at all. If you're blindfolded, I think you probably just wouldn't be able to tell that he was riding a mullet bike, and I can only put that down to the geometry of the 297 specific frame from Nukeproof with that 8. The only time I could tell the difference was on short, sharper turning corners. But again, not massive, just a bit more feeling that I've got a big wheel there. But it was beneficial, particularly on berms where you're pushing down more and I've got a bit more angle to push. That's how I felt. Whether it's just placebo, I don't know, but really enjoyed it. On the climbs, it felt good on the climbs, lots of grip, and particularly when I'm hitting things like slabs and you know those short things, or the little box that you're going to normally roll and smash into on a 275 wheel, where you're going to get caught into them. It felt like I just got that roll over the top and up the slabs, you know, a quarter of a turn of a roll as opposed to normally have a half a turn of a roll. Really helped me get over those rocks and roots and larger obstacles on the trail. So overall, really enjoyed it, a lot of fun, very playful on the back. You can see why they call it a mullet, business up front, party in the rear. So it's just an incredible bike to ride, really loved it. It's a lot better, and I've read this in advance that mullet is supposed to be better for short riders, like myself, whereas everybody's going to 29 inch wheels now. But the 297, the mullet, is great because I can still hang my arse over the back without getting a tyre scrub on the rear as well. So overall, really enjoyed the test as well. And as an end summary, I just want to say a massive thanks to Andy who helped me build along the way, the guys that came out on the ride out when we did the test on a nice 12-mile route. Also a massive special thanks to the guys at Two Wheels Only in Tamworth, particularly Pete, who was very helpful along the way, sourced the frame, helped me get everything sorted that I need to get, a bit of advice while I was there, and an absolutely awesome shop as well. If you haven't visited it, they're all mountain bikers, so it's well worth a visit and a really cool shop to go to. And they helped me obviously get the fork on, as you saw, which was the one part I was dreading, cutting that top bit, getting that wrong. You wasted a lot of money there. So excellent bike shop. I'd definitely recommend checking them out if you get the chance. That's it, the 297 build. All I'm going to do now is just keep riding it. But I've already, you may have thought, well, it looks a bit dodgy. You've still got the red stem and you've still got the red bits, so I've sorted that already. Look what I've got. I just couldn't live with myself looking at that all the time. It had to be done. So I got the Renthal stem, which matches the bars, and the nice new Nukeproof frame with the gold underneath. Those are going on next. You'll probably see those in future videos as we're going to be hitting some bike parks and things this year. If you did like this video, please hit like, please subscribe. If you've got any comments you think that we've missed anything along the way, any important points during a build that you would have noted, or particularly on the ride out, if you've got a mullet and you think there's something that would be useful to others, please do leave them in the comments and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks, and we'll see you on the trail. Drinking pasta because he forgot the cutlery.
Morrison's, sort your meal deals out.